I'm David. I'm from Toronto, Ontario in Canada. Back when I was in high school, I was watching this YouTube video of this YouTuber. He was gay at the time. When I saw his video, he talked about when he came out to his parents, it didn't really go well at all. He was effectively disowned by his parents and he became homeless. It really left an impression of on me, like the fear of like what would happen if I came out to my parents. And so fast forward to when I went to university. So I went to a pretty good university, and then so I went into to the school's pre-medical program. When I was in the program, it just felt incredibly lonely, because everybody is competing against everybody else for like these very few spots to get into medical school. It made me feel like that I didn't really have anyone to turn to or talk to. And then because I was also very closeted, I didn't really have my parents to talk to. One night, I just felt I was so, in a way, fed up with just what's going on in my life. I was just mentally exhausted from having to deal with school, deal with my sexual identity, that I just lost the will to live. It was around like 9 o'clock at night, and no one was in the apartment that I was sharing with my roommate. I went to the convenience store that's near my apartment, and I walked up to the counter and asked the clerk there whether or not they knew where the Tylenol was. He asked me like, "Are you okay?" And then I lied to him and I said I'm fine. And he's like, "Are you sure you're not going to do anything terrible with this?" And I was like, "No, I'm sure. I just have a cold, and can you point me to where the Tylenol is?" And he showed me where the Tylenol was. I bought the pills, and then I walked back to my apartment. I took the pills. I blended up with vodka, and I drank it. After I drank the solution, I decided to lie on the couch, thinking that this is it. I'm about to die. I think after maybe in like an hour or an hour and a half, it like my stomach just suddenly felt like incredible pain in my stomach, where I couldn't bear anymore. I think the pain finally got the best of me, and I essentially crawled my way to the bathroom. After I puked, I was like, okay, like I don't know if this is okay, but I'm gonna call someone. I called the ambulance. What really stuck out from that moment was that for me was that like it was that very intense desire to be like, I want to live. After the ambulance brought me into the hospital, I ended up staying there for about 3 days. After that, I got home, and I've officially hit rock bottom, in a sense that I was kind of playing back, like I tried to kill myself. Um, my stay in the hospital didn't really do well for my grades. I did at that point decide that school wasn't appropriate for me. So I decided to talk to my school and told them that I'll be going on break. And then while I was on this break, I was just kind of looking around, looking for some answers to like how to get better, essentially. But then I came upon this article that was talking about like how to deal with depression. And one of the recommendations was to try to smile for yourself, like look at yourself in the mirror, and smile to yourself, even if you don't feel like it. So after reading this article, after a few days, I was brushing my teeth in the morning, and I was thinking about this article, and I was like, this is so dumb. Like, what is this supposed to like? I don't see how this could possibly work for me. I tried to smile, and it was so awkward, and I couldn't help, like it was so awkward that I ended up laughing because it was just so awkward. Did that like for quite a while, and things slowly start to get better. So after a few weeks of doing this ridiculous thing of smiling to myself in the mirror every morning after brushing my teeth, I suddenly came to the realization that like for a most part of my life, I've been really trying to living my life for someone else. And soon after I realized that, I realized that I need a fresh start. I decided to transfer from my school that I was doing my pre-med program in to another school that was in a bigger city. And at that point, I also realized that I had a really I was really fascinated with math. I got really deep into the subject, and I started pursuing a career in actuarial science. So soon after I graduated from university, I got a job with my current company. During all this time, what really stuck out in my head was that video of the YouTuber that came out and had a terrible time with his parents. I remember I was at this dentist appointment, and I was ready to kind of go home. I was on the phone with my mom chatting, and one thing led to another. We were kind of bickering, and I pretty much said to my mom, like, you don't understand because I'm gay, and there was definitely like a little bit of silence, and she realized how big of a deal this was, and so she told me that, like, I think we need to sit down and talk about this. My parents sat me down, and we're talking about like my coming out. My dad pretty much just broke down and said, like, he said, I wish you should have told us sooner. With my mom, it took her a while to kind of get around to it. I was just in a little bit of a shock that my parents didn't disown me, because of my coming out. The relationship that I have with my family has definitely like improved. The best part was, I think after a year, after my mom got comfortable with everything, I brought home my boyfriend. After my boyfriend left, my mom had the best line, and she said, "Son, you're just like your dad. You like your boyfriend is so good looking. Like, you just all you care about is looks." And at that point, I was like, it really just it cracked me up, because it really just made me feel like, my at least on my mom's end, she really got around to this. People do get disowned for being gay, for being trans, for being part of the LGBTQ plus community. You have to live for yourself. I struggled with it. I think for my entire life, pretty much. You shouldn't think that because you're living for yourself, it's a selfish act. It's not. It's definitely better when you're living your true identity, I guess.